Hey, Jess and Katie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Pia. Thanks for having us.
I am so excited you guys are here. You know, as a coach, teacher, trainer, whatever you're going to call me, like the best feelings that I get doing this are watching people take action and get results. That is like why this is fun. And you guys are just the epitome of people who show up and do stuff. And it's like, it's been so fun to watch you. So congratulations just on all that you've accomplished so far. I'm really excited to dive into some of it today.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
excited too.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you guys end up working together and when did this happen?
Katie and I were lucky enough to work together at an organization for 6 years where I was a senior designer and she was the writer. We got to partner on a really wide range of projects within the same organization, went into separate roles for 3 years, independent of working together. Then we had the opportunity to leave the organization about a year ago. And in discussion around that same time, we decided we wanted to try our hand at doing our own thing together.
Wow. So you had 6 years of, or almost 6 years of already practice working together before you actually did this thing.
Yeah. And I'll say the great thing about that is that when you get to work with somebody and you're in the trenches with them, you get to really know how they like to work and how they think and how they operate. So Jess and I quickly realized that we're very similar in a lot of ways. We're both procrastinators, but we're both really
You're
hard
like,
workers.
perfect. That's what
This
I
should be a
want.
great combination, but we are both very hardworking. So I know that even if it's last minute, we're both going to get the job done. And I got to see that in action before I decided to dive in with Jess in a business.
Yeah, that's beautiful because I've been in a partnership, I've seen my fair of partnerships, and they don't always work out. So
Yeah.
You guys seem like a match made in heaven. So I thought that you only started this a year ago, but then I was like, that can't be true. When did you start this business officially? Because oh my gosh, of course, because you just celebrated your 1 year in business, which is bonkers.
Yeah. It was April 2023 is when we officially started.
Okay. So I think you started working with us not that long after. Am I right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
We feel so lucky actually to have found you. And by that, I mean, I think you found us in a serendipitous way.
I'm very good at
But
that.
in doing, some research and kind of formulating how we wanted our process to go and what we wanted business to actually come in like, we were able to come across your model. And from there, we feel really fortunate that we could implement pretty straight away into what we were doing.
Yeah. So what had you done before then? It wasn't too long after you started. So had you even been doing anything up to then? Like what happened before that?
Yeah, we had just a few clients. We're so grateful for those first 3 or 4 that we got to work on. And, they were each like very different. The range of work that we executed for them was very widespread. There was no consistency between the clients. And then we were really kind of formulating what our intake process looked like, what our pricing model was going to be. Everyone was telling us we needed to chase a retainer model. And we were kind of feeling just the mindset was rubbing up against that, not wanting to kind of be a master to multiple brands at the same time. So we were having a lot of dialogue, and those first clients went wonderfully, but they kind of set us on a course to set a process that we felt comfortable with, and also kind of the end goal of what our business could look like 3, 5, 10 years from now, and the relationships that we could build starting out. So
I'll tell you one of the big things that I struggled with on those first few clients was the pricing, because we were so used to sort of pricing by the hour without officially telling our clients this is how much we charge by the hour. But it was us guessing. And so Jess and I would just be sitting there guessing how many hours we thought this would take, and then maybe buffering in a few more hours. And every single proposal that we sent out, I did not feel right about because it just felt like a complete guess and I hated it. And it was just a leap of faith. And so I really wanted a tight process of these are our prices and this is why, and we feel confident in that. So that was the main thing that drew me to your program. And I know Jess was very into the LP process. She hated the proposal and doing the free work. So she was like, we need this. We're doing this. And so we did. We found you at the right time before we really got too deep in our processes and had to retrofit. And I feel like we were kind of set on the right path from there. We might get into this, but we started your program in the baby program. And I knew pretty quickly I needed the full program. I needed all the information. I needed to put it all into play. And I just needed that community of people that could really help us, reach the level that we're at and that we're heading toward from here.
It's so interesting that you guys seem to have like so much foresight. And I think it's really rare. I think people feel like they need to, I don't know. I mean, this is just my observation. Like, stumble for a really long time and before they ask for help, and or you had clients, so like, well, I'm getting clients and I'm working with them, so like this is fine, it's not ideal, but like this is what I need to do, before they go, no, I should really like learn from other people who have done this. What do you think it is about you guys that you were able to have such foresight or decide like, no, let's get there faster?
Speaking for myself, I think that I am such, and I know Jess is too, such an end-to-end thinker that if I'm only working on this one piece of a project or my business, I don't feel like it can come to life fully. So I'm the type of person that's always looking end to end. If we do this today, what does tomorrow look like, and what is our end goal and how do we get to it? So when we were setting up our business, I was thinking very end to end of, which payment program are we going to use? Which email platform are we going to use? Thinking about long term versus let's put a Band-Aid on it and get to the next step. So that for me, it was all about long term and that end to end thinking.
Wow. What about you, Jess? What do you think?
Yeah, I would say just at the organization we were at before, we were able to identify like what styles we thrive under, what work processes we really enjoyed, and where we felt our creativity like really came to life. And so some of our like really early conversations were around how do we take our energy and like make it the most efficient? Like what do we like doing? And with our early wins, it was clear like kind of we knew in our gut like what lane we would thrive in. Then it was just a matter of how to answer the question, like how that process would work. And so I think just again having that background and our experience and what we did prior kind of helped shine a light on where we wanted to take it moving forward.
Wow. So that's really lucky too. You guys got to work together in an environment that like helped you think through this. Well, I guess you're getting paid to do it, right? So that
Exactly.
if you're a business, you're like, oh, we have all this knowledge and we learned it together. That's so cool. Okay, yes, you did start in our Baby Turtles program because you were so new. It probably made sense, but I think it was very clear very quickly. You may have just wanted all this stuff, but I think for us it was like, yeah, they're rock stars. Like they're crushing this. Before you came into Master, you were doing the LPs. Like, had you ever done anything like that? What was that shift in that process like for you, and what happened?
I think immediately the difference between a creative brief in the traditional sense of as a designer, what I'm looking to answer, that completely shifted in that really getting to the roots of the organization and having a chance to talk to our clients at that very fresh, real, raw level before going into any aesthetic detail or any brand dreams or any I want it to be purple conversations. It really allowed us to see kind of behind the scenes, like what's really going on within their company and how we can help them in areas we didn't even know we would be interested in or that they were pursuing. So it opened doors for us that we would have never known to ask about or we would have never known to put into a proposal simply by asking questions in a new and different way than what I would consider a traditional aesthetically based creative brief.
So are you saying you found like the projects would get bigger or there would be additional parts of the project you could pitch?
Absolutely. It put us in a position to ask deeper questions. And before we know it, they're, instead of just telling us about a brand guide that they need, they actually need a trade show booth. And they're really hoping in the next year that they're going to attend 3 or 4 national events where they need to be equipped with marketing collateral or a booklet system, but they had called us for a brand system, and so it really started to expand the end-to-end thinking that we were able to provide for them just, through an a 90-minute conversation.
I love that. What about you, Katie?
Another thing I love about it is I feel like it organically puts us in a place of authority, because instead of being the order taker that says, sure, here's your brand guide, what colors do you like? It really puts us in a position to dig deep and understand holistically their business, and to use our expertise to see where their opportunities are rather than just being an order taker. So I love that aspect of it, because we feel well equipped to tackle kind of anything from here on out versus that one little task that they asked us to do.
Absolutely. And they trust you to do those tasks too, because you've like done that
Absolutely.
before. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. What was it like when you first started selling these? Because you had never sold them before. Did you find that you got pushback? Did you have a hard time explaining the value? Did people like it? Did they buy it easily? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, it feels like so long ago to think back to selling our first couple of LPs, but I think nobody questioned it. Nobody balked at charging for it. I think for me, it was a mental roadblock of charging someone for essentially a piece of paper with really great work on it. But nobody balked at it. And after one or two, I felt super confident in the value that we were providing. And ever since then, it's like a no-brainer. It's the price of entry and the value that our clients have seen in it and have expressed the value to us. It only reinforces the work that we're doing and the value that we're providing to them. So it was never, from that second one on, it was never really any sort of hesitation from me or anybody, any of our clients at all.
Oh my gosh. I know our students listen to this podcast. I hope you guys are listening right now, especially the newer people, because I feel like this is why we're like, just do it as soon as possible. Like, you're not going to get it fully until you actually do it.
Can I say something on that?
Yeah, please.
Your model is set up to just do it. You don't even have to understand what an LP is. Book your LP and then you'll understand it. The perfectionist in me, that pained me and it made me so scared. Jess kind of went along for the ride and she's like, we'll figure it out. We figured it out and it was great. But boy, if you had to push me over the edge, it probably would have been 2 more months until I did our first LP. So thank you.
You're welcome. And yes, thank you for saying that, because I know so many people are so scared. I know I'm barely going to tell you what it is and you're just going to do it. But like, trust me, you know how to do it. You just have to have a little bit of a
jump.
faith. You just have to jump. Okay, Jess, it sounds like you were a lot more gung-ho about this. Were you like, I'm worried too, but let's just do it? Or were you like, no, this makes total sense? Like, what was your feeling about it?
I think my feeling was just a trust in ourselves that we do have the professional expertise to bring clients forward. And once I kind of understood the LP to be a conversation, and I think I just flipped a switch that's like, we're just chatting with these folks about their businesses. And naturally, I'm an extrovert, but really having the guidelines of the LP and the definition of just kind of, it's a relationship builder. And it's, we didn't have anything to lose really. And so I think I was just able to look at it as an entry point and into a relationship. And it allowed me to kind of think of the client as a friend or think of them as, kind of a partner right from the jump with that conversation. And then also I have the amazing benefit of my partner, Katie, being a writer and a brilliant writer. And so not having to write the LP myself, I think I was just blindly confident in our ability to execute on the back end because I've seen her write incredible work and I knew whatever this LP thing needed to be, she could write it for us. So I did have a full deck there for that one. So.
Yeah. And that's so funny. So Jess is like, oh yeah, Katie's got this. Like, we got this.
Yeah.
And Katie will take care of it. And Katie was like, we're really going to charge them for this piece of paper? You were like, albeit with some good words on it. Katie, your hesitation, I think, is just so common. It's like, am I really going to charge them for words on a piece of paper? And I mean, to your point, you said, well, now it's a no-brainer. Like, have you shifted your feelings about like it's words on a piece of paper or like where the value really lies?
Yeah, I definitely have for many reasons. One of them being that a lot of people in the industry that we've talked to that work at large agencies have repeatedly told us to jack our prices way up on our LP. And we're like, I don't think you understand the point. But their validation from that seat at the table alone is one piece of it. But then whenever we meet with our clients after they've received their LP and they are just grateful and thankful and have told us you uncovered something that I've been trying to unlock and I just couldn't put my finger on it. Or no one's ever asked me a question like that. And it really made me think about my business differently. I didn't have that perception going into it because I was just kind of like, questions, write the brief, let's execute. But hearing their feedback and hearing them say those things that are really moving their business forward has been completely, mindset changing for me, because I know that I am delivering something that they can take and they can hold on to for years, and they can really garner new ideas from them versus just, here's your list of deliverables that you need from us.
Yeah, totally. You have to experience it to believe that
absolutely
strategy and ideas are actually the most valuable thing. I mean, I
Yep.
feel like it's like trite until you've experienced it. And it's like, oh, right.
Yeah, that's what I need to do.
Yeah, that's what we need to lead with. Yeah, I love that these industry people, they're like, you should be raising the price. It's like, okay, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I know it's worth that, but
yes.
we're selling, and this is helping us sell.
Yes.
And to that point, what has your upsell experience been? So like the LP process is about this first step, but it's really, the purpose of it is to make it an easy yes. We're trying to take the sale out of it. Jess, do you want to start? What kind of track record have you had? What kind of reactions have you gotten to these LP briefs, and how are they upselling?
Yeah, the reaction to the LP briefs and, being able to go back with a plan of action for the client has been phenomenal. It's first and foremost built an immediate level of trust that we hear them, we understand what they need, we have a plan of action, and it's continued to reinforce the idea that we are kind of captain of what they need, and we're here, as their number one partner to execute. The LPs that we have not closed a further project on have, interestingly enough, provided them a pivot in their business. So if we go back to the LPs that haven't closed, we can look at something fundamentally different that they changed about their business model. And to me, that's a close in and of itself. We did an LP, I think he was maybe 4 or 5 as far as the list goes of number of LPs. And he came back to us with a shift in his entire plan for his business. It was so powerful for him that he wasn't ready to move forward because he was changing where he was going to show up in his industry. And so when you have a loss, quote unquote, you don't close the project because of that, it really, again, just illuminates the power of what it is you did for them. But, other than a handful that haven't closed for various reasons, there is no sale. It is the sell. And it's like, we're ready. This is how we would move forward. Are you ready? And it takes any level of convincing or negotiation out of the conversation because you've already established your credibility and your ideas. And it's really whether or not they want to align and whether they're ready to proceed.
So it's been easy yeses as long as they're not totally changing their business based on your advice.
Yeah. I think I just gave a really long-winded answer that was like, it's a yes or it's a complete no,
Well, no, I love your story about this guy pivoting, because what that also illuminates, I'm sure you've seen people in our community be like, what if they just want to buy the package? And I'm like, no, they must do the LP first. You can't just sell them the package. And this is kind of why, because if you just sell them the package and this guy had this idea and he wanted to do, option A, and then you just did the package for him, and actually that wasn't what he should have done, you didn't really help him, did you? Right?
Yeah.
And like that project, in my experience, back when I would do projects like that, those projects never went very well because there was something wrong with it and nobody knew why. And what was it? There was like something wrong in the business strategy, but nobody asked. So, we're just going to make this website the way you said it. That's always been my experience, at least. If you don't hash this out, then there could be these landmines around that you can't expect. You don't know when they're going to go off or where, but I feel like that's one of the reasons that projects go off the rails sometimes. So I think that's a perfect example of like, hey guys, 100% close rate is not even necessarily what we're going for here, because like we don't want to close the people who are not a great fit, and those projects would not be great. But I know I've been watching you guys, like you seem to have a really great and enthusiastic close rate. Katie, what has it been like for you? You're the one writing these words that these people are getting so excited about.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And I think looking back, it's gotten easier for me because I feel like I'm garnering the insights more quickly. When you sit down and you ask the clients the questions, it's kind of hard to see the light bulb in the moment. But when I go back and sit down and write the LPs, it's almost like they're jumping off the page at me, and it's becoming a lot easier to write down their big ideas, like what differentiates them in the market and how we can really help bring all of that to life. So it's been really fun. Yeah, and I think it's just interesting to see kind of how Jess and I have adapted the way that we work too, more nimble, more quickly, working on the LPs more quickly and working on our projects more quickly as we move into the intensive model. So it's been a fun journey.
Well, that's a great segue. You guys have been doing intensive since January, December?
Let's say March probably would be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have I think we would have 4 under our belt now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that. So what was the hesitation? What made you finally do it?
I don't know that there was hesitation necessarily. Yeah. I don't know that there was hesitation in us doing it. It was probably the perfectionist in me wanting to make sure I fully understood the steps.
Yes.
And making sure that we had a project that would kind of fit into the model. We've had some projects that have sort of bled out to ongoing, lengthier projects. But when we finally found some that we really felt would fit the model, we felt really confident in going into it. So it was just a matter of us, gathering all of your information that you have lived and experienced and really you've really fine-tuned it and taking that and sort of making it our own as a partnership. And it's been really fun to learn from each one. Every single one that we've done, we've learned something pretty big from each one. So I don't know if we're ever going to nail it or if we're just going to keep learning and iterating with each one, but it's been fun so far.
Jess, what has your experience been like doing these intensives? Because you're doing the design work.
Well, I think the dirty little secret that if my clients hear this, I can live with, but the dirty little secret is I've always worked in an intensive model. That is how my creation style, it works. And I always do things in chunks and stacks. So I will put off the design work until I have a large chunk of focus time to really go heads down and get it done in 1 or 2 big pushes. And I think the level of impact that the intensive has for me is just the permission to say, yes, that's exactly the point. Here is the days in which you will go heads down and only do this work. And it takes so many things off my plate to be able to have a system that all works together for, and just admit that I don't need 4 weeks to do a project. In fact, I would never use all 4 weeks to do the project. I would wait until the last 4 days of a 4-week project to execute. And so having a process and the permission to execute in a way that works for my creation style anyway has really, I think, elevated what we're able to do because it makes me even more focused. I think the other thing it does is provides, again, us the authority to give the client their best options. Right out of the gate, our first 2 or 3 clients, we watched how they chose our first and second iterations of things. So the 9 logos that were created just were never needed or utilized. And again, it's just this efficiency piece of harnessing how I work anyway and giving the best foot forward each time.
Another thing I'll add to that is the magic hour brings that strategy piece right back in, leverages the LP that I spent a lot of time on and brings the whole thing full circle that I think sometimes clients can easily forget. When you remind them, they're nodding their head. They're saying, oh yeah, we did talk about that. Oh yeah, that is what I want to be. And then when we show them Jess's visuals and my copy that aligns directly to that strategy, it all comes together and there is no sell. They get it. They already agreed to it. And so let's move on and approve. It's almost seamless every single time.
I think it was our official second intensive that our client, after the magic hour, she was in tears. She cried because she felt heard and she felt understood. And we delivered on something she had only been dreaming about. And it was the process coming together in the way it is built, in that we take the vision that is given during the LP, the roots of who she is and what she wants her business to be, and we are able to give it back to her in a very consolidated format so she can see the entire end-to-end picture of the brand she was dreaming about all at one time. And it can be emotional. And it was so incredible and exciting to see, how our work and how the process was able to kind of move her forward in her business.
Oh my gosh. I love a client tier. That feels so good.
We will be chasing that high. We will be chasing that high maybe forever. We all were in tears by the time that call was over. So.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Katie?
Nope, I was just nodding my head.
Yeah, you guys were already skilled at this, right? Like you're already great designer, great writer, strategists, all of the things. Which parts or what about this, about having the process, do you feel like took all of that work? I mean, I believe like you guys are already operating at this high level in terms of delivery, but what do you think, or what, one or two things about it do you think make that all get to the tiers? What part added in made the difference there?
I don't know if it's easy to pinpoint one thing, but if I stood back and kind of assessed our delivery, I think it is I don't know if I want to call us the authority, but it is being a trusted partner. It is from day one, from the way that we've set up all of our touch points. You book a fit call, we have a conversation. From interaction number one, we are seen as professional. We are seen as a partner who really listens and wants to know more about your business and your dreams and your goals. So when we deliver that to you in a concise and clear way, tying all of the pieces together so that you have everything that you need and all the explanations of why and all the strategy to go forward, and you're armed to go live those dreams. I think that that's really what sort of lights the fire underneath people, is that they don't have any more questions, or they're not concerned because we've been with them this whole journey. So they're ready to go, and they almost don't even want the project to be over because we've really helped them see their vision through all the way up until this point. And now they just have to go fly baby bird and go be that vision. So I think it's the way that we've sort of shepherded them through the entire process in a very professional and concise manner that makes us the partners that we really want to be and that they probably have been looking for a really long time.
Love that. Yeah, I would agree. I can see it's like building on itself. And to your point about their vision and their goals, it's like you're starting with that and then you're tying it through the entire process so that by the time it's at the end, it's like, we took the very thing that you said you wanted, and here it is right before your eyes. And how could you not? I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Like, how can I feel like that's the piece that is often missing in the kind of more traditional way of doing this. It's like people forget to connect it to the why. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why is this so important to you? But that's where all the feelies come from.
Yep. And the feelies helps the saleys.
And the feelies help the saleys. Maybe we should call this episode that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Word girl.
Yeah, word girl. Okay, well, that's amazing. I know you guys crush it with these clients. I know they're always so happy with you. Can you tell me a little bit about what kind of your biggest wins have you had in the last, let's say 6 months? We've been working together a little longer than that. Like, what are you most excited and proud of? I'll start with Jess.
Yeah. Our biggest win that I can pinpoint is, and it's a broad one, and so we can go a little deeper on this, but the consistency. So we've reached a point where we have a structure, we have a plan, and the consistency in which we are having fit calls, we are making time for connections, and we are executing the type of high caliber creative is all falling into place in a way that feeds itself. And so the consistency we have found that we're building on and we get to keep learning from is, I think, the absolute biggest win I could point to.
I love that. What about that feels so good to you?
The reassurance and the ongoing dialogue that we get to have between one another, that our big idea, so the brand that we are building, we're building the car as we're driving down the highway, it's working, and it's getting better, and each intensive is getting tighter, and each LP is getting stronger. And so our brand that we are working hard for is coming to life. And I think that the consistency is feeding and empowering us to keep trying and keep going.
You trust that you're on the right path. You trust your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the consistency we're having, we are working hard, no doubt. But we are not first-time business owners that are killing ourselves. You know, we are not living, breathing, skipping family time for this business. And I think a year ago, we were prepared to. I think we were prepared to do whatever it takes to grow a business. And the consistency we found has made it so that we don't have to, so that we have the structure to allow long weekends and to allow summer hours with our kids. And, you know, kind of the benefits that you might have thought would take a long time to reach as a business owner, or that the society tells you as a small business owner isn't possible. And so it's provided that for us, for sure.
That's so good. I'm so glad you said that too, because I feel like the people who listen to this podcast and like the people in our community, like everybody wants to make more money. They want to make it in less time, but like, I don't know about you. I can't even think of anybody in our community where it's all about the money. It's like most of the people in our community are like, it's all about the living my life, living my best life, like being there for my kids. Like we have a lot of people in here who pick up their kids at 3 and like that's the end of their day. And I just love that.
Yeah,
summer
absolutely.
hours. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
summer hours all year. Katie, what about you? What do you see as your biggest one of your biggest wins that you're excited about?
I think one of the biggest ones that came to mind for me is that I've become more goal oriented. So prior to finding this program and really getting in deep with Jess, I kind of just went with the flow. And, you know, if we make money, awesome. If we don't, we probably should work harder, whatever that looks like. I listened to a podcast once where they were interviewing Ted Danson, and he described his entire life and career as riding in the back of a pickup truck. And he just sort of waves and gets a job and gets this job. And I was like, I think that's what I've been doing with my career, is just sort of riding along in the back of the pickup truck. And so when we started this program, you're very good about big picture and goal setting, which initially I was like, goal setting, it's a buzzword. It's, you know, everybody wants to goal set. But then I realized that you can put it into bite-sized pieces and break those pieces into actionable steps that will pretty naturally allow you to reach and exceed those goals. And I was like, oh, that's goals. So it felt almost like a fun challenge versus this big, hairy, like hit your goal, bad word. That it's fun to do the quarterly planning now, and it's fun to do the yearly planning, and it's fun to celebrate our wins and reward ourselves, even if our goal is something silly like we have to do 20 connection calls this week and then we'll go to the spot, whatever it is. It's fun to celebrate those wins and like really challenge yourself and hit those goals. And it doesn't have to be a monetary goal. It will help lead to monetary goals if your goals are in line with your strategy and your business. So that's been a big one for me, is sort of taking the steering wheel and realizing that I don't have to ride in the back of the pickup truck. You can get in the driver's seat. You can steer a little bit if you want to. And I think it's really helped Jess and I, you know, sort of push toward goals instead of just reaching a goal and kind of moving on to the next milestone. Not that we weren't intentional and not that we didn't have big dreams, but I think we didn't exactly know how to break them down into steps to get there.
Ooh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I do feel like goal setting is a dirty word to a lot of people. And it's probably, I think you just nailed it. It's probably because it's not so clearly understood that like how to go from goal to actually doing it. So it just kind of feels like, oh, set these big goals and then don't do them and then feel shitty about yourself because you didn't do them. And like, what are these goals even? They're just out there in the ether or something.
Well, I think when Jess and I were first talking about starting a business, we just like set a monetary goal. Like we would like to make this much money this year. And we were like, cool, high five, let's do that. But like, we didn't say how or what we would do. We just thought like we would find clients, they would give us money and we would hit that goal, which is silly, but like, I don't think we understood the steps that we had control over to help drive us to those goals. So that's been a real eye opener for me and really helpful in helping me prioritize what steps I need to be doing every single day in and out to take those baby steps to hit our goals.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's the difference between putting something that's just an outcome goal and like, what's the goal? I love that you said like the non-monetary. If you hit all the non-monetary things that are going to result in monetary, it'll actually result in it even more. I think a lot of people just have that number and then it's like, hope I get it.
Yeah. Which is why I never bothered setting them, because I was like, that's silly. We'll just see what happens.
We'll just see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is a powerful shift in thinking, Katie. That can take you very, very far, all the way, wherever you want to go, actually, if you keep doing it. I love that so much. Okay, last question. You know, people who are listening to this podcast who aren't in our community. I know there's a lot of people listening who they're like, yeah, this all sounds great. I want to do it. I want to be part of that at some point. You know, I feel like this will be really good for me later, either when I have more clients or when I have more time, which both of those feel like it's like when you have more clients, you're like, oh, I'm busy. When you have more time, you're like, oh, I really need clients first so I can like invest in myself. What would you say to somebody who's like, yeah, totally, later, but I'm going to do that? I'll ask you first, Jess.
Yeah, I think I would say take the leap. You know, I would say everything about it is uncomfortable because you're going to try something new, and it does have a monetary cost, and it should, because you're investing in yourself, in your business, and it's terrifying. But it also, if you're already doing the work and you're already putting yourself into the world, if you can do it in a way that provides more structure, more accountability, more answers to your questions, then it really becomes an investment instead of an expense. And we are really quick to talk about a class or a development session or, you know, a workshop for Wix or, you know, we're really quick to talk about our tactical skill building, but we don't ever offer the accountability of like, how can I learn to do better at, you know, the controllables, you know, the small things that incrementally provide consistency. They provide inspiration, they provide question and answers, you know, that you may have been struggling with. And so I would say it absolutely is a leap, but it's a leap filled with support and a community and the answers to whatever it is that you've been struggling with. The range of solutions that the program has provided to us in such a short amount of time has, I mean, literally paid for itself multiple times. So we've covered the cost of this program multiple times in the 8 months that we've been, you know, members or whatever that timeline is. But yeah, it's scary for sure, but worth it.
I appreciate that. What about you, Katie? What would you say to somebody who's like, sounds great, I'll do it later?
Yeah. If they're anything like Jess and I were when we first started our business, they're spending hours trying to figure out the things that are already figured out. So all of the hours that they're spending writing proposals, figuring out what their pricing should be, figuring out what their services should be, who their niche is, all of those hours could be spent making money. So if they were to just put their ego aside, jump into the community, which is, I don't feel like almost not talked about enough. Like the community, the accountability, the help within the community is more valuable. Okay, it's not more valuable than what you're teaching us, Pia, but it is almost equally as valuable as the lessons that you're providing us, because you can't get the real world experience from so many knowledgeable people going through the exact same things that you are anywhere else. So if they were to just join, get all of that set up the right way, their processes, their packaging, their pricing, everything just comes naturally. And it, to Jess's point, it pays for itself. Like, I almost wish we wouldn't have waited as long as we did, and we didn't even wait that long to jump in, because, you know, we were able to set ourselves up from the beginning with a process that really, really works for us, rather than stumbling and fumbling and losing money and doing work that we didn't want to be doing, and being those founders who are working, you know, 15 hours a day, just trying to tie up all these loose ends, when the answer is right here. Your people are right here. And Pia, you and Steve have learned it. You've tested it. You can help us on anything that we have a question on. And so that is invaluable to me.
I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you both. And everyone that's listening, like I was going to say, our community is just full of people like Jess and Katie, but there is no one like Jess and Katie. But they're also amazing people. Like, these are the kinds of people, the kinds of very intelligent, strategic thinkers, brilliant marketing and design and branding minds that are there to give you feedback and answer your questions and tell you what they did and tell you what worked and tell you what didn't work. So the whole thing is, you know, I appreciate it. It's like I always say, people join for the training, but they stay for the community. Nobody joins for a community because they don't really know what the community is like until you're in there and they're like, oh, this is why this is so valuable. That's why we don't talk about it really, right? It's like, oh yeah, and there's also this community, because I'm like, you'll find that out later.
Yeah.
I know you don't. I know
it's our little secret.
It's our little secret, right? There's a lot of secret society going on inside this program. Let's keep it at that. You guys, you're amazing. I'm so proud of everything you have done in such a short period of time, and it is like, I feel like it is just the beginning by a mile. I mean, I can't even imagine where you guys are going to be in the next 6 months, 12 months. So just kudos to you for, like I said, showing up and actually doing the thing, doing it scared, being scared of investing and being like, well, okay, but we need to do this. I'm going to take a leap of faith, doing the LP, even though you didn't know what it was, and you felt like a perfectionist, doing the intensives, even though it was like, okay, I don't exactly know how it's going to go. I just think that is entrepreneurship. Like, that's how entrepreneurs grow. And you guys are just such a great model for that. And I think a real inspiration for a lot of other people in our community. So congratulations. Thank you. Where can all of our listeners find you guys?
We are Brightside Creative. You can find us at brightsidekc.com. You can find us on LinkedIn, Brightside Kansas City, on Instagram and Facebook, Brightside KC.
Perfect. Beautiful. You guys have to go check them out. Their work is amazing. They're a great example of the kind of caliber of work that people are doing inside this program. And again, thank you so much for joining me, and let's keep this rocket ship going.
Thank you, Pia.
Thank you.